last week, they were completely rammed. They were filled up to the gunnels, they were queuing down the street. They said, you should have been here last week. I swear, you should have been here last week. Oh yeah, you should have been here last week.
So welcome to this week's episode of You Should Have Been Here Last Week, the podcast about the comedy industry, run by myself and Paul Ricketts. Today's guest is stand-up comedian, actor, promoter, and now author, the one and only Karen Bayley. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Can I just add to the listeners here that won't be able to see this, but we're having this interview live with Karen from her boat. Where is your boat, by the way? Where is it moored?
It is moored at Gas Street Basin at the Birmingham City Centre. You could not get more central. It's a B1 postcode.
How many years have you been a comic, and what made you first want to get into it? What's the sort of impetus behind you becoming a comedian?
Right. I've been doing it nearly 24 years. So 2000 I started. Always wanted to do it. Never had the guts to do it. Friends got fed up with me talking about it. And then somebody sent me the "So You Think You're Funny" application. So I just applied. So that was my first ever gig, the "So You Think You're Funny" competition.
Right.
In front of 400 people in London.
Oh my God. How did it go?
You know what? It went really well.
And you got bitten by the bug then, didn't you? That's it.
You know what? My fear was, what if, because I always wanted to do it, but I thought, what if I do it and I hate it? Then my dreams won't be there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I just, and then I remember getting halfway through my set. I was the only one who overran because I'd never done it before, so I didn't know how long my set was. So they said, we'll flash you at 6 minutes, and I got a double flash at 7.
The famous double flash.
The famous double flash, yeah. And I actually remember halfway through forgetting my lines and then thinking, I'm bloody loving this. It's great fun.
And so you also... you've been in a film. You've been in several films, haven't you? Didn't you star as a prison warder
in Longford?
How many? What did you have to? Did you get to say anything? Were you horrible?
I did. Yes. Time. 5 minutes, and then I had to read a whole list of names. At which point, the final name was Myra Hindley. At which point, Jim Broadbent stood up. And everybody in the waiting room glared at him because he was the first visitor that went to see Myra Hindley. So everybody glared at him, and then he walked through. So yes, I starred in a scene with Jim Broadbent.
So when did you decide to start the comedy club then? Because you've had a comedy club for how long in Sutton Coldfield? 22
years. So Mark, who I run the comedy club with, we've been friends from another mutual friend who was in a musical theatre company that I was in. And we used to do lots of plays together. So I just did acting before I did comedy. And then, so Mark was friends with this guy, Adrian. And then, so we knew each other. And me and Andy White tried to run a comedy club very unsuccessfully at a pub in Erdington. And then Mark came along to that because he's always loved comedy. And he just said, well, do you want to try and run a club together? So then we found one in Sutton. And we ran it there for a few times. And then the pub closed. And then we went to where we are now, the station. And the guy that ran the station pub said, well, you can try. I've tried it before, but it didn't work. But you can give it a go. And the opening night, we had a queue all the way down the stairs.
Wow.
What's some of the best nights you've had down there? Can you remember any memorable nights?
We've had amazing acts there. We've been spoiled. I think having Ross Noble there was amazing. A, because he did about 3 hours. And then in the interval, you know what Ross is like. He just goes off on one, and he pulled back this curtain at the back of the stage going, oh, look, it's a grandfather clock. And he was doing all this stuff about the grandfather clock. And then at the interval, he didn't realise, but we did have a grandfather clock, and the manager brought it down and we stuck it behind the curtain. So then he went back on stage and was like, oh, any questions? Right at the end. So we said, what about the grandfather clock? And I was going, I forgot about the grandfather clock. Pulled it back, and there's a grandfather clock there. And Ross's face was just the absolute best. Had some magical nights. We had Michael Winslow from Police Academy doing all his noises, which was unbelievable. You know what? As Mark said this the other day, he said that room has just got comedy in its walls, and we couldn't go anywhere else. So
that's really interesting. That's a thing that's when a place has been hosting comedy for that long. It's an interesting theory. It's like soaks it up, doesn't it? I mean, your audiences are famous for being really. They love their comedy and they're very supportive and accommodating, aren't they? And
yeah.
I've never seen, even though acts might struggle, etc. There's never been any sort of like horrible unpleasantness there, has there?
No. I think because I've always, right from when I first started the gig, we always have a strong support act. Well, we've been doing double headliners at the moment, but we've always had 2 very strong acts, and they know that I always have an open spots in the middle. And I don't care what standard the open spots are. So, I hate it when you go, oh yeah, we're looking for some open spots, but have you done so many gigs? How the hell are people going to go? I didn't start doing open spots. I started doing an open spot at professional gigs. And I'm passionate about that. Yeah, sometimes we get an act doing new material, but I don't care. I don't care if somebody says, it's my first ever gig, or, and we've had some spectacular deaths by open spot. And the audience love it. I love it because it's part of it. We had this poet, I can't remember his name now, the Birmingham poet, sadly he's no longer with us. Absolutely hammered. Barely stand up. Died on his hole. And the audience fucking loved it. They still talk about it now. What's happened to the piss poet?
What's happened to the piss poet, yeah. I mean, that is an interesting question about it. I mean, because we always ask a lot of the promoters that we have on as well, how do you think, how much do you think comedy's changed in the years that you've been doing it? And 2, where do you see it going in the future?
I think social media, of course, is affecting comedy. I think there's always going to be, the number of people say to me, they see me at a gig and I have I'm really enjoying my gigs at the moment. You have a great gig and they go, why aren't you on the telly? And, you should be on Live at the Apollo, and you kind of go, that's not how it works. It's not, some TV comedy isn't a meritocracy. It's just, they fit a certain box and that's what happens. And now you've got the comedians that, are putting all their clips, which I will have to do. I've been filming myself. And then, I don't know if you do this, like you're filming yourself doing a gig and then you suddenly think, this will be a good bit for social media. And it's like, why am I doing this gig? Am I doing this gig to actually perform and entertain these people who are in front of me? Or am I looking for a bit that will look good on social media? And I think there are some comedians that this has done brilliantly well for, and it's nice to see the more sort of the more established comics using social media, which is now pushing them forward but it has created a bit of a monster, I think, but it's a monster that's never going to go away.
No, the genie's out the bottle, really, isn't it?
But if you're thinking in the midst of your performance that, wait a minute, this is a good bit I'm doing right now in terms of clipping up, does that take you straight out in the moment?
I don't know. I do remember doing this thing where I was comparing Last Laugh. I've got this material about Cubs and Scouts and brownies, and I was like, I always say, girls, what did we do to the Girl Guides? What did you do at the brownie at the Cubs and Scouts? And this bloke just went, peas in the dark. And I went, what? Peas in the dark? And then I just went, and then the Cub Scout leader was arrested. And it was, and then this bit just went on, and it was just really funny. And I remember, because I wasn't filming it, thinking, Oh God, that would be a brilliant book to put online. And
yes.
then one of the other acts said, "Oh, I'd filmed that bit. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." But yeah, I think the frustrating thing is when you see like some acts putting this stuff online and they've got maybe 2 minutes, and then they've barely got a good 10. But I think, like anything, I think it will reach saturation point, and I think people will always want live comedy.
Well, we'd hope so, wouldn't we?
My club has gone in peaks and troughs, and it's doing really well. It's selling out at the moment, and I've noticed a lot of clubs. I think lockdown maybe has changed that a bit. I think initially people were wary to go out. I think now people are desperate to go out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. All the clubs I've been in recently have been sold out. I feel like, despite the cost of living crisis, I think people see it as a nice, cheaper alternative for them to get out of the house and have a communal experience and have a laugh.
But there's no substitute for that. I mean, the thing is that telly can never replicate that anyway, can it? You know, if you see someone on telly, it's not the same as being in a live audience, is it?
I think as well, though, because so many people doing social media now, that is saturated to the point where how are your clips going to stand out from the thousands of others that are out there? And how is somebody going to go, oh, that's Joe Bloggs has done two open spots and he's got a tiny bit of, a clip. And those people who have been going to comedy for years, and you can go and do a good show. So I think the quality of comedy clubs will still prevail. I think as well, like, for example, when I started, I mean, there's all these open mic nightclubs. There weren't when I started. There might have been a couple in London. And I remember going to them in London. And when I first started, my law to myself was, you must learn something from every gig you do. And my first gigs in London was, don't go to London to do open mic gigs. That was my go to learn.
Good lesson.
Yeah, because I was just sat with loads of comedians that know each other, no bloody audience.
Was a lot of those bringers as well?
There might have been, I don't know. I did one. I drove all the way to London to do this open mic night, right? And because I used to go everywhere to do 5 minutes, and I got there, right? Went up to the bar staff and said, "Is a comedy night?" Oh, it's not on tonight. What? It's not on tonight? You're joking? I've driven all the way from Birmingham. Oh no, it's not on tonight. I'll get in my car, drive all the way back, phone the guy. He said, "Oh no, it was upstairs."
What?
Shit.
And I went, "Well, tell the fucking bar staff then."
That's terrible.
And I'm thinking, well, if your bar staff don't know it's on, then I presume your audience didn't.
Yeah. I don't think you missed anything, Karen.
Yeah. Again, do not go to London for open mic gigs.
I want to quickly mention the fact that you've also written a book, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah, what's it called and what's it about?
It is Malcolm the Boy Who Can Talk to Dogs. It is a children's book. So I used to be a teacher and I wanted to write a funny book that had a really good storyline. So I wanted a funny book with a good plot. Because having been a teacher, I think there's loads of funny books out there and there's loads of like exciting adventure books out there, but they're rare to the two meet. So that's what I did.
Yeah. I mean, how many have you done?
I've nearly finished the second. It's a trilogy. So it's been optioned for TV, but I can't find a bloody publisher. So I'm at the point now, whether do I still try and go down the traditional publisher route or do I self-publish? Because the woman who's optioned it said at the moment they're not commissioning new programs. So it might be an idea to just get it out there published so that it's in the ether, if you like, because it's taken so bloody long and maybe it's a confidence thing. But I went to this manifestation thing at to the moon yesterday. So I'm hopefully manifesting things out there.
Yeah, just giving the vibe out to the universe.
Yes. So I lay
what was this book?
Yeah, lay on my front, on my dog blanket, but didn't have a yoga mat.
Do you have to do any chanting? No?
No chanting. It was really good though. Really good. I really enjoyed it. And then she got this sage and got rid of all my negative energy. Then she shook this stick at me.
And that was enough, was it? That did the trick.
Yeah,
that did the trick. It got all my chakras moving.
That's always good to get them in the right direction.
Yeah. You don't want to fuck your chakras up.
Stagnant chakras.
You were also, and this is quite an interesting thing, one of the comedians that goes everywhere with her dog. You're one of a select band, aren't you? There's you, Juliet Myers. Obviously, Cogs used to go everywhere with his dog as well.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that like?
Great. Although, can I tell you this story? I was given this hotel accommodation with lots of places are dog friendly. Well, they're not dog friendly because they go, oh yes, it's dog friendly, but it's 40 quid for the dog.
That's not dog friendly.
That's not dog friendly. So, right, I was in this hotel thinking, I've paid 40 quid for that. And he's really good. So when he wants to go to the loo, he taps the door with his paw. And I know he wants to go out, right? But I wanted to lie in. So he tapped the door with his paw. And I thought, oh, sod it, I've paid 40 quid. Fill your boots.
Which he then proceeded to do.
Yeah. And he went, go on, have a 40 quid. Get your money.
Look, you've been doing this for a long time, and I admire you because you've kept plugging away. No, you really have, and because you now got to a situation where I think you're a very successful and a very skilled comic, and
thank you.
That's been a bit of a journey. And what advice would you give to particularly female comics about just sticking at it? Just
try and enjoy the journey. I did. I was at the Comedy Store and I was doing, and there was an open spot. Well, somebody was in a tryout spot. So no, it's taken me 8 years and they're still not booking me. I said, mate, it took me 20. And don't compare yourself with other people. There's always going to be people that will jump way ahead because of certain reasons that tick certain boxes, and you can let jealousy and insecurity eat you up. However, nobody can buy experience. I did a gig recently, and a promoter said to me, "You know what? You can't buy experience. You just can't buy it." So although people might be seeming to do really, really well at certain points, there's going to be points where the experience will outshine. And that's why when you go to the really big experience, clubs, it's the experienced comics that they still book. They want that.
Yeah. I think that was very well put. I mean, that's the other thing somebody once said to me, don't, exactly the same thing. Don't concentrate on what other people are doing because it'll eat you alive.
Yeah.
Because everyone's always doing better than you, and even if you talk to really successful comics, they'll be going, oh yeah, blah, blah's got such and such. You think, what? Yeah.
Well, just make ones. Think of all the shit comics that are worse than you. That's what I do.
That's a good mantra, really.
Look at all the ones that apply for gigs, because I get it a lot. You'll be amazed at some of the people who apply for my gig, and I'm thinking you're offering yourself as a headline spot, and I wouldn't give you a 2-minute open.
Oh dear.
I'm not going to be nasty.
Manifest.
So, what's the best way for open spots? Seeing that you have spots available for them to get those spots.
They just either Mark normally sorts that bit out because so standupnight@yahoo.co.uk, I think the email is, or just go onto our website and give us a shout, and then you'll be amazed at how many people apply for open spots and don't turn up.
What? That's criminal.
I know. And I'm like, you really want to do comedy? I used to travel everywhere to do 5 minutes, and it pays off because A, you get a better comic, and also people know you're reliable.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, in mitigation, I suppose they might be terrified, but then they shouldn't have applied in the first place, should they? Really?
Oh no, I understand that if they do that, but then just phone me up to go, you're bloody terrified.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, get a fucking grip, get on the stage, you stupid arsehole.
So, I think with that positive finish,
you should be in charge of all the England football teams. Get a grip, you arsehole.
So I was just going to thanks Karen for letting us into your boat and giving us some time. And
Well, thank you for asking me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for that was brilliant. And a big shout out to Bertie. We'd like to say, send our best wishes to him and for him to fill his boots.
Trapping in the hotels across the country.
yeah. So that was Karen Bayley, recumbent in her canal barge bedroom.
So thank you everyone for watching and listening.
As always, if you like the podcast or the YouTube offering, hit the like button if there's one there for you to hit. Subscribe, follow us, and add the podcast to your selection of regular podcast downloads. If you have any questions for us, please go ahead. There's an email in the YouTube description, and I'll put one in the podcast description. So send us a message. We're happy to hear anything from you. If you've got, for example, ideas who you want us to interview or any other questions, comedy related, within reason, we will answer them.
Yes. And when Paul says follow us, we don't mean in a baby reindeer sense, do we?
No. No. I don't know. I'm weighing it up. On one hand, no. On the other hand, I'm lonely.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to. Yeah, you got Stalker. You've arrived, haven't you? Well, they've arrived outside your house, sort of.
Yeah. So we'll see you on the next one, and bye.
They said you should have been here last week.